think they like my Colorado swag. Cause when I'm in that flag, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that goal, you know I'm acting bad. Holla get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Might not square, I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag is pushing 180. Speeding past competition, see you later, baby. Colorado Army with soldiers like the Navy. And Boulder's where we stationed, patiently awaiting. When I hit the field, it's so hard to behave. I'm Colorado swagging as the crowd do the wave. Look into my eyes, I can tell that you afraid. Cause you know we finna hit ya. Hey, you on your own now.
Welcome in to DNVR Buffs Postgame, presented by the Colorado XOs. I'm Henry Chisholm. I'm with Ben Gerding and Ryan Koenigsberg. We've got a lot to talk about. What a night. I mean, the last game in Boulder for Kin, the hug at the end. I mean, the Buffs won the basketball game that gives them the best finish ever in the Pac-12. We know what the matchups are going to be like, although smart people on Twitter have pointed out cancellations are possible.
If that game gets canceled, I'm going to toss myself off a building.
I honestly don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, at this point, like a year ago, probably unreasonable. After we've done this whole thing, like, yeah, if that's how this goes, I'm not going to blame you for that. But Colorado won. Good things are happening.
Although, yeah, I don't want to go. I was going to say, I could go down the rabbit hole here and say, if they have to cancel that game, then, like, how could they be ready by Thursday?
There's that.
The Buffs could get as high as the 2 seed.
So that does work. And actually, because I was actually planning on asking you guys, like, do you think that USC and UCLA would just say, you know what, we both got COVID, and that means we're going to finish right next to each other in the standings, either in front of or behind Oregon for 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, depending on what happens in their game?
But wouldn't the Pac-12 have to say, like, okay, well, you have to go on pause? If we have to cancel the game, then you have to go on pause?
Exactly. So I think we're safe from that.
Okay, we're safe from them faking it.
As far as I can figure out. Before we jump into all of the stuff that happened in this game with our biggest takeaways, I want to say a couple more words about the Colorado XOs. The undefeated Colorado XOs.
X 1-0s.
Wow. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that you should be paying attention, then I don't know what would. So the Colorado XOs, they're a rugby team right here in Glendale, Colorado. They're taking soccer players and basketball players and football players and a bunch of other athletes, turning them into rugby players with the idea of getting them onto the U.S. national rugby team, which trains at the same facility right here in Glendale, Colorado. Cool stuff. You can follow along at DNVR Rugby on Twitter, the DNVR Rugby podcast on the website. Cool stuff. Check that out. All right. Biggest takeaways from this game. I'm curious to see where this is going because it kind of feels like there's so many things to be said.
Well, I mean, again, I'll go back to what I said after the last game, which was people said I was being a homer when there were 8 games left and you said over under 5 wins, and I said over. And now there's been 9 games, they won 7 of them. So that's what I keep thinking about, like, you know, because that's just the kind of person I am. But the other thing is just McKinley Wright. Like, for him to close out his Colorado career in Boulder, I mean, it's tragic that we didn't get to be there to give him the right ovation that he deserved. But
it's so tragic. Like, it makes me so sad that these brutal. Seniors weren't able to get just the exit that they deserved from CU events.
But I mean, you look at
also Periscope's live, so go retweet it.
The USC game, the UCLA game, finishing with this Arizona State game, the ultimate exclamation point on the career. And by the way, while we're here, don't ever mention McKinley Wright and Remy Martin in the same sentence ever again. It's just they aren't close. Unless your sentence is McKinley Wright is way better than Remy Martin in every facet of the game, that's the only sentence they should ever be in together. 24 from Kin, 6 from Remy Martin. Get out of here, man.
He was just so bad. Remy Martin, 1 of 9 from the floor, and
he was off the court so quick.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that was the epitome of it. You know, I love when people talk about this battle between McKinley Wright and Remy Martin and how great that rivalry is because, you know, they both came into the conference at the same time, but The reality is McKinley Wright is now 6-2 head-to-head, and he has consistently outplayed Remy Martin in damn near every one of those meetings, including right now, which, arguably recency bias, this is the most important.
Absolutely. Again, there's so many ways you can go. You can go Kin's career. You can go Kin and Tad and the hug at the end. You can go Kin versus Remy Martin.
And we will go to the hug.
And that's just all with him. And that's totally ignoring the future, what's happening in the next couple of weeks, the ugliness that was starting this game out. Honestly, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, and I think we might be here a while.
And it just goes back to, I hate to go back to the same thing that I go back to every game, but it's the mental toughness of this team. You're crazy if you're not worried about them when you hit the under 16 and they have 2 points. But Tad Boyle, I guarantee you, he said at some point after the game, you can afford to be bad on offense when you play that great on defense, because guess what? They had 2 points and Arizona State had 4. And so as bad as they were from the floor early in this game, they bucked up on defense and kept themselves in the game. And that goes back to mental toughness, because it'd be very easy when you start 1 for 9 or something from the floor,
right around there,
to tuck your tail between your legs and take a whipping on the other end. But instead, it felt like every jumper they missed on one end made them stronger on the other end, because they were like, we cannot let them go on a run. We can't allow that. We'll figure this out on offense eventually. We have to make sure we lock in on defense. And that, again, just goes to the senior leadership, the coaching of Tad Boyle, and, again, the mental toughness of this team is off the charts. And they're playing their best basketball right now, aside from that early stretch. And that's one hell of a combo. Now, again, nothing is promised in March. Nothing at all. But you love having those two things going. You're playing really good basketball right now. You're on a winning streak, and you're mentally tough. Oh, and again, you're the best free throw shooting team in the history of college basketball to this point. I'll touch wood. But that is one hell of a mix heading into tournament time.
It definitely is. And it's honestly kind of tough to pull anything from that opening sequence of the game. Like I don't know where to place blame. I don't know who to give credit to. It was just a mess on all accounts. Even you can say the defensive effort was good and they were in good position and held them to 4 points while they only had the 2. But at the same time, Arizona State was also called for, I think, 4 offensive fouls in the first 8 minutes of that game.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. 14 turnovers in the first 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I believe 7 of them were offensive fouls.
You are absolutely right.
And that's why I really wasn't all that worried, because it was just an ugly, sloppy game in the beginning. Both teams looked terrible. And this is an Arizona State team that, yes, they're tremendously underperforming. But the only reason they're underperforming is because, for some ungodly reason, people decided that Arizona State was the team in the Pac-12. They hadn't shown it last year, but coming in the preseason, everyone determined that the Sun Devils were the team to beat. Obviously, that hasn't worked out, from COVID issues to just straight up play. They're not that good.
Well, it also should be pointed out that their coach is an absolute fraud.
Oh, I hate Bobby Hurley. Still, one of my favorite moments is starting the Bobby's bitching chant during that Arizona State game in 2018. But Arizona State, for what they lack, they still have a top 25 tempo in the entire country, and they are still explosive. So what do you need to do to beat Arizona State? Clean up the glass. Tonight, Colorado, 43 rebounds to Arizona State's 27. It was ungodly how they controlled the glass. Most of it from Jariah Horn, who grabbed the double-double tonight. They really influenced on the block, and it showed in the final score.
What are Tad's numbers as you hold him under 43% shooting and then you out-rebound him by 5 or something? And he basically says, anytime you do that, you win the basketball game. And this team has really embraced everything that he's about. And tonight, 37% from the field, you out-rebounded them by damn near 20. You're just going to win. Doesn't matter what you do on any, and you have McKinley Wright while you're at it.
Yeah.
So this is exciting. And aside from that stupid scenario that people brought up on Twitter, they've now clinched the 3 seed, which is a really nice position to be. And it happens to be that no one has to watch any of the games on garbage Pac-12 network.
And that isn't something that I'm not sure if I brought it up at all on the podcast this week when going through all this, because I was like, you know what? When we talk about what is best for the Buffs, what TV channel they're on doesn't matter. But boy, is it nice to know that, that there are 10 games of this Pac-12 tournament, and only 3 of them are going to be on anything other than Pac-12 networks. And Colorado is going to be in those 3 games, assuming they keep winning. They're the only team that's going to be playing on those games, and they're all on just straight up ESPN. It's exactly what you want. The exposure, it's just incredible.
By the way, I don't know how many times this has happened in Colorado basketball history, but no matter what, they can only lose 2 more games in the season, which means they've clinched single-digit losses, which is not easy to do in college basketball.
That's a good one.
Not easy to do.
So some people in the comments are just asking to bring up the video of the hug, and Ken tweeted. So I don't know if you guys want to get to that right now.
Yeah,
why not?
Give us all the feels.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way, and we can be smart after.
I don't know. This is just I'm so sad that these seniors and McKinley Wright are leaving. It's like McKinley Wright will be remembered at CU the way Philip Lindsay is. When Philip Lindsay enters a stadium, he gets a standing ovation every time. He is just one of those guys. We've seen him since he was a freshman. Seeing those pictures recently come out of him, he looked so small. And this tweet really that Ryan tweeted is very, very true. Let me take the biggest takeaway thing away real quick. It says, the beauty of college sports in 10 seconds. Tad Boyle brought in a kid and is sending off one hell of a young man. And just this video of the hug is just so sweet.
Get you a love like that in your life.
Wow.
Look at Tad.
Was this not talking about Alex Strading checking in?
And then they tweeted out some pictures of it. Of the hug and just
I said the
excitement.
only thing that could have made that picture better is if it was Remy Martin standing behind them looking so jealous.
Yeah.
And then McKinley Wright tweeted, wow, I'm a miss y'all filling up Core's Buffs Nation. It's been a pleasure to play here. Last game in this building ended just how we wanted. Love 25. And I am just all in my feels. Oh my God.
I just got goosebumps.
I did too.
Yeah.
I don't want this. I wish that
any speculation that he was coming back, if there was any.
There wasn't
yeah.
any.
There was some.
Not here.
No, not here.
Not in
here.
the winner's lounge.
Any speculation was just wishful thinking. And again, I don't think it, if you were wishful then, you're still wishful now.
Yeah.
I want to bring up a point. You talk about a single-digit loss, secure a 20-win season again. You finished the best in the Pac-12. I want to say something I don't think anybody's talked about. For Christ's sake, he did this in a global pandemic. He rallied these guys to not only play some of their best basketball, but also only one COVID issue in the program in the very beginning. I mean, that needs to be applauded just on a different level as far as what Tad Boyle is as a leader, as well as the dedication of all of these seniors, McKinley Wright, Jariah Horn. This team is dedicated. They're bought in, and they're doing this in, as cliche as it is, unprecedented time. I just think that aspect of things is not talked about enough because it's just so impressive any way you slice it.
Yeah.
Tad Boyle is the single best or the second best coach in the history of Colorado basketball. And just little things like that are just little feathers in his cap that I think the people who get mad when they don't score for 3 minutes completely disregard. The way that he runs his program is so clean. It's so good. It's so... he's always on point in all of the areas that surround, just the games. 100% graduation rate, these are the things that don't get noticed. Again, when they're on a 12-0 run the other way and people are losing their minds at Tad Boyle, but he is an incredible coach. He's a really great leader. He's a great man, and he's someone that parents all over the country should want their young men to play for.
100%.
Yeah. This whole season was just crazy. Everything that's happening, to not get the COVID issues, it'd be very easy to take for granted what Buffs fans got to go through this year when a lot of college basketball fans didn't get a similar experience. Either because of COVID issues that meant that they were sidelined for most of the season, or because the team just sucked for whatever reason. The fact that not only did this program manage to play during the pandemic, not get sick, all that kind of stuff, but to play well during it too, the odds of those things coming together are just so slim. Even what Oregon had to go through in front of them, USC had a pause. I think UCLA did too. It doesn't always go this way, and you give a lot of the credit to Tad, but also a bunch of it goes to Kin too. I mean,
Leadership.
we all know that people do what he says, and that's just what happens when he has had the role that he's had in that program for as long as he's had it. Nobody's not going to listen to him, and that will be missing next year. And hopefully somebody steps up and fills in, but they won't bring the same sort of clout that he does. And I think that that's really important when you talk about the things that Tad Boyle does with the program that not everybody can do. You do need players who buy into that. And I don't have anything against any of the players who are there, but you know that with Kin there, you're not going to have a problem. The door is kind of back open, maybe just a little bit because he's gone. And I do think it's important to give him credit for getting this team through this season as well.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you saw what happened. Like, it's really hard to replace these type of leaders. For example, Josh Scott leaves the program. And you had a really talented team that next year that included Derek White, and it included Wesley Johnson and Wesley Gordon and Xavier Johnson, and like the expectations for that team were high. But it's always tough when you lose a glue guy like that, and that team underachieved. They lacked leadership. Derek White was so awesome. But I feel like he didn't realize he needed to make it his team quickly enough, and he was the new guy on that on the floor for that team. So it made sense that it took him a while to be like, oh God, I'm the one who has to lead this team. So that to me kind of illuminates how important what happens from here on out is. And again, there are no guarantees in March. Everyone who's ever watched March Madness knows this, but there's a big opportunity here for Tad and obviously this team and this program to get some building block wins, as you try to take this thing to the next level, because who knows what it's going to be like next year? Who knows what it's going to be like the year after that? This team was a tournament team last year, but it's been a while even since they played in a tournament game. So again, it's not a given, and if they get the wrong matchup and this, that, and the other thing, you might not even be able to be that mad about it, but you got to take advantage of what's in front of you now. Make a nice little run in the Pac-12 tourney, and then take care of business in the tournament. At least get one win, hopefully 2 wins, and that's something you can pitch to recruits and say, hey, let's go, and then you'll have the next McKinley Wright. Yep,
and you can already pitch setting a new high watermark for the program in the Pac-12.
Yep.
That is something that was accomplished this year. And I don't I'm not going to say they are going to set a new high watermark or they aren't, but they have that opportunity certainly in the NCAA tournament. And I don't know exactly how far they've gone in the past, but in the last 20 years, I don't remember them.
Yeah, it depends on
getting
how far.
all that far.
It depends on how far back you go. But
exactly
in the Tad Boyle era, they've won 1 game in the tournament. So.
I love this comment by Selly, though. He said, teams built like this are the Cinderellas of March. And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a veteran guard on your team. A guy that also, quite frankly, a run in March for McKinley Wright is as important as any other player across the country. I mean, look, McKinley Wright right now, I believe he's an NBA talent. He defends well, and he's got a nice handle. His shooting abilities can come later on. He will get a shot with an NBA team. But he can go from on a bubble to be drafted to really solidify that draft status if he leads Colorado to the Sweet 16, to the Elite 8, goes on one of those little runs. You think back, first name that comes to my mind is, Buddy Hield with Oklahoma that year. Just leading Oklahoma and dominating. Also,
he was pretty bona fide at that point.
No, but what I mean is like a guy that just takes over the tournament. For McKinley Wright to do that this year, that's going to solidify his draft status, and honestly, it really could bump it up.
To me, we disagree on McKinley's potential NBA stock and whatever, but I will say there are going to be a lot of eyes on him, and he most certainly can increase the chances that he will be drafted by going and being a great player. Unfortunately, there's just the NBA is the ultimate place where they look at measurables, tools, and
they love to say tools.
I mean, even more than the NFL. And they'd rather take some 6'7" guy who's played organized basketball for 2 years, but he's long and he can jump really high. Than McKinley Wright. It's just what he's up against. But I'm certainly not betting against him to get a shot and do the absolute best anyone can possibly do with that shot. So the tournament will turn a lot of heads if he can go out there and be great. And if anyone's capable of it, it's him.
And not just the national tournament, Pac-12 tournament too. If anybody wants to watch Pac-12 basketball next week, they will be watching Colorado, at least as long as Colorado wins, because that's the only thing people can see. But I do think that
At 9:30 p.m.
at 9:30 p.m.
Oh my goodness!
But
I gotta bring this tweet up from Rick George, real quick.
All right.
Hold on, I have to find it.
All right. But yeah, I do think, it sucks that Kin doesn't get a real senior night.
I
And,
know.
to me, I've been able to not feel too bad for him by just saying, you know what, people will overcompensate when the time comes, when he's back in the gym.
He deleted it.
Oh no. But
I have it pulled up on my other computer.
I hope that there is some sort of overcompensation for that and people go crazy. If they wanted to just do Kin chants for the full 2 hours of the game, that would make all the sense in the world to me,
Where is this?
when Kin finally gets to go back into the gym and there are people there too. But at the same time, even with all that going on, you do feel really good for Kin getting to go to the tournament. I mean, after all of this, that is so much more important, I would guess, than getting a real senior day, a chance to go on a run. I mean, this is what they all say is what they grow up dreaming of. It's going to be pretty cool.
That he deleted it.
No, he didn't. We were able to retweet it, so he did delete it. Rick George tweeted, McKinley Wright is a badass, blurred out, great leader.
He's a responsible man.
Allie's always big on making sure she gets the visuals in for the describes the visuals for
well, because some people listen to this as a podcast.
Yeah, people listen to the podcast and just hear us all sad about a hug that they didn't see.
I honestly think
they'll see
every single person will see that picture. But
that's true.
Do you guys want to do King of the Game? Kinley?
King of the game.
King of the Game?
Wow,
King
way
of
to
the game.
spoil it, Allie.
King of the game.
Well, we knew. It was obvious.
The DraftKings King of the Game, McKinley Wright, 24-4-4 on 10 of 17 from the field. Didn't feel like that's where things are going when he started, 1 for 5? 1 for 4?
Who knows?
He hit that first one, yeah.
And again, just to quickly go back to something I was thinking about as it relates to Tad Boyle and his coaching job, he let those boys have it on the sidelines after that start, and they had a defensive lapse that gave Arizona State, I think, just a 5-point lead. But Tad woke them up. If they were, if they weren't awake before that, which I thought they were just based on their defensive effort, but he woke them up. And Ken was the main piece in that. He went out there, he got a bucket, he got to the rim, he found ways to open up this offense. And I mean, what more can you say about him? He's when I'll think of the great Buffs of my lifetime, McKinley Wright's going in there, basketball or football.
Absolutely. Also, I just got a notification from ESPN, which says, Bubble Watch, Colorado. It's official. The Buffs can move into the lock category after win over Arizona State. Congrats, guys.
It is,
they did it. They're going to the tournament.
Unbelievably shocking how many people over the last week, because I listen to a lot of different March Madness podcasts, whether it's, Cats or, it's guys at CBS, and they're like, oh, Colorado with the sweep of the LA schools, do you think that cements their status? I'm like, well, let's take a look. So they're top 20 in KenPom, top 20 in net. They have been for damn near the entire season. They're now 20-7. They've been a lock for weeks. If you actually, if
Pay
you're
attention.
actually, exactly.
Yeah.
What Power 5 conference team with 14 conference wins is being called on the bubble?
Colorado is.
Yeah.
Colorado is.
Silly.
And I think that might be the only answer. All right, let's take a quick break. On the... No, we had a long break, and I was just thinking about it. It was a 3-ad break we did yesterday. It was a lot of fun. But so what was I saying? Oh, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
You guys are going to get a whole bunch of questions into the comments.
We already have a lot of questions, so we will answer those.
And even more will be on the way. If you're not watching on YouTube, then watch on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and all that. Give the 5 stars to the DNVR Buffs podcast. Any other plugs? I think that's good for plugs. Into the... Oh, see, this is why I was forgetting. I knew I was forgetting something. looking at who the ad is. Breckenridge Brewery. There we go.
That's an easy one. Don't even read.
It's seltzers. So,
I am so excited. So because of my wisdom teeth removal, I haven't been able to have like bubbles, sodas, all of that. So I haven't had the Breck seltzers yet. I am so excited.
They're so good.
I can say so when I turned 21 recently, I'd never had an alcoholic beverage before that.
Of course.
And so recently I've started a Seltzy tour. And so I'll pretty much just, go home every night and pick up a new case of seltzers. Not every night. That makes me sound like an alcoholic.
It does.
You're 21 years old.
In between
You're not
cases,
even allowed to be an
I
alcoholic.
can confidently
It's
say
called
Breckenridge
living.
Brewery seltzers are far and away better than anything else. You need to try them out.
What's the
They're
best
so
flavor?
good. Honeydew.
Ben Palm.
No.
Not you, Ryan.
Ben
Ben
Palm rankings. Let's go.
Peach.
Really? The peach? Which
Don't-
is the one Spencer Smith loves?
Don't discredit yourself.
Apple pear.
Apple pear.
Look, anything with peach in it is automatically up a tier.
Really?
Peach is
You're
just a
into peaches.
superior fruit.
What's the best peach
You're
product?
like peeking every time you say peach, so I'm gonna need you to calm down. With that
Sorry, I'll
word.
back away with a peach. No, peach is just it's a superior fruit.
But
For
like,
me,
What's the best peach product?
Peach product.
well, I actually created my own concoction. It's
Oh,
called
God.
a peach drink. And what you do is you take peach vodka and peach juice, and then you take
Oh.
a slice
the
of a
most
peach
college-
and put it on there. No.
Oh my
you
God, that's
guys
a
laugh.
hangover.
I got my dad hooked on it. I got my brother hooked on it.
I'm talking
Okay.
about peach foods.
Yeah, something that you
Anyways.
didn't make.
The
No
seltzers
offense.
are so
Who eats
good that
peach food?
every time that someone brings them
Peach
to the
cobbler?
bar up here, they're gone within seconds.
And
Like,
it
so
usually
many
causes
people
problems.
haven't been able to have them yet because they just everyone's like, no, I want one. No, I want one. They're so good. I'm
I
so
drank a
excited to
dozen
try.
of them last Saturday.
Yeah.
And
It was a great experience.
that's why Ryan wasn't on the post game show last
That is
Saturday.
exactly why I wasn't. But I wasn't just like wiling out. Like I was doing it for content.
Yes. That video will be coming out shortly, and it is hilarious.
It's a trip, that's for sure.
So Breckenridge Brewery, they do great stuff. You can pick up the seltzers that everybody loves pretty much anywhere, but if you want to be sure, get on the Breckenridge Brewery website, go to the beer locator, and it'll tell you exactly where you can go to grab those or any other Breckenridge Brewery products. Also, DraftKings.
Ryan's been on a roll with DraftKings.
Ryan.
I am on a roll.
I was
How
I
did
on a
you
roll?
do
No.
with your
So
picks
I subbed
today?
on to bets today. I was wrong about Jokic. I thought he was going to be good.
You were right about Barton.
I was right about Barton. I was right about CU. And assuming Nebraska didn't pull something
right.
special out of there, you know what?
I
I
don't
think
they're capable of
I
that.
suggested a plus 400
Iowa
parlay
won
that hit.
102 to 64 in Lincoln.
Yeah, so I needed them by
No,
10.
in Iowa, but
102 to 64.
yeah.
We should have a just Nebraska segment where like we just go through and find something bad that happened in Nebraska.
But then it's still talking about Nebraska.
It's
which
funny
is
because
just,
I
like,
talked you
yuck.
off of including that parlay in your big three. Like you already gave
You
it
did.
out, but I was like, well, let's add this in the big three. I mean, you still went 3-1 overall, which is much better than me. I had an off night, although a pick that I didn't give out on the show, which I should have, was a Nuggets under parlay that I hit easily.
If you guys are into making money and you do not have the DraftKings Sportsbook app yet, there's an awesome deal right now where you get 100 to 1 odds, and what you do is you pick either main event fighter to land a punch during this weekend's UFC 259 bout. And again, 101 odds to land a punch. It's incredible because that's like what they do. They throw like 40, 50, 60 of those. Almost free money. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DNVR when you sign up to turn $1 into $100. If either main event fighter lands a punch on Saturday, place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code DNVR to turn $1 into $100 if either fighter lands a punch. Oh, wow. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Real quick, I just want to point out, and this has nothing to do with the Buffs, but if you were not convinced that Nikola Jokic is your MVP, Henry clearly missed a bet on Jokic and said, I thought he'd be good tonight. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. He's the MVP. No, I
needed
understand.
27 points.
Right, but just
An
wanna throw that
MVP
out
gives
there.
me 27 points.
No,
Okay.
no, don't you dare.
Don't start this.
Yeah, that's not the basketball we're talking about. Also, Nikola Jokic should be the MVP. That was a joke.
Questions?
Well, I guess we
Wait,
might
I
as-
want to do another over-under game.
Okay. Let me throw
I'm
some stuff
very
at
good
you.
at them if you didn't know.
Okay,
Hey, and make sure in the chat, Henry's going to ask us some over-unders. Jump in there. Give us your input as well. Let's see, who's right, who's wrong.
Well, can I start?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Got one? Don't the people who have asked questions, we will get to them just after this segment.
Absolutely.
This is a tough one. Over under 3.5 wins the rest of the season.
Over.
So,
Ooh. Yeah.
That is a tough one.
It's sunk in. It's sunk in quickly.
If you think of it this way, they either have to win the Pac-12 tournament, that's 3, and then get 1 in the NCAA tournament, or get 2 in the Pac-12 tournament. Oh, wait.
And then go to the Sweet 16.
2 in the Pac-12 tournament, and then go to the Sweet 16.
Or none of the Pac-12 tournament make the Final Four.
The under is the favorite here, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
You're
2.5 is probably a more realistic number.
It probably
But
is.
I just wanted to see if I could get either of you to bite on the over 3.5.
And you did. You got me, and I immediately realized, no, that's not a good idea. I went through in my head real quick, and I was wrong. If it was 2.5, I'd go over. At 3.5, it's just unreasonable. And I do think that the team has all the potential to make that happen. But when you look at the teams they're going to play, I want to change my answer because Luis just really kind of changed my mind with the all caps over. I'm going to take the over. I'm taking the over. How do you not after you see how they're playing? They look so
I agree.
good.
Okay, it's weird.
The comments are saying over.
Somebody has to win those games.
I know. So
And why can't it be the Buffs?
their
It's not going to
second
be Cal Stanford.
So their second
who's
round
their
opponent would either be USC or UCLA, more likely at this point, right?
It will be the loser. So if Oregon loses, then it will be Oregon. If Oregon beats Oregon State, which they should, then it'll be the winner of USC and UCLA. Will be the second round opponent because they'll be the 2. Colorado will be the 3, and so then Oregon would take first.
I'm talking about the first game that they're going to play because that's technically
first
the
game?
second round
Oh,
because
yeah.
they have a first round. bye.
Cal Stanford, the winner of that.
That scares me if it's Cal. I'm just going to say it. Dude, okay, here's the problem with this team. And I'm not going to be negative, but here's the one
You're
flaw.
allowed to say the problems with the team.
Well, I know, but
fact,
we got good vibes
we
going.
paid
I don't
for
want to
that.
say they're going to lose to Cal, but what I am saying is they have problems against guys like that. Guys like Matt Bradley, who are kind of in between the 1 and the 3. They can take the ball down the court, but they've got these bigger bodies. You look at guys like that, Chris Duarte. It's just you can't cover them as well. And you saw that when Matt Bradley dropped almost 30 points. That would scare me.
I think, there's something to that. I think that as much as it's the 1 through 3 big guy thing, it's also Colorado's let guys get hot. And
sure.
when you look at both Cal and Stanford, they have guys who can absolutely get hot in Matt Bradley and Tristan Da Silva. Whoa. Not Tristan.
Oscar.
Oscar Da Silva. And Oscar.
Not even the best of Silva.
Very true. Oscar has not been able to get hot against Colorado. I guess he played all right looking back, but Matt Bradley killed him. And to be honest, that will definitely be in my head as you go into it, and I hope it's not in
You'll
their
go
head.
into that game with a different game plan. And when's the last time when someone went off on Eli Parquet? Probably
Matt
that.
Bradley?
Yeah.
Probably that.
And again, I have to go back and watch that game and see how he got hot, how Eli was, how they were playing him. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But the other thing is it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season.
And that was something I wanted to ask you guys is that real? Or is that something that concerns you? Or do you look at the fact that they've beaten USC twice and they've beaten Stanford twice and say,
They have their number.
this is a very good path that is shaping up here?
There's something about, just the toughness of this team on the inside that if you're a team that is led by your bigs, you just kind of struggle against the Buffs. So I'm not worried about Stanford. I'm not worried about USC. But again, it's March. Mm-hmm. It's a neutral site. Anything can happen. Honestly, I'm not worried about any of those matchups. Cal, Stanford, USC, UCLA. And so I like 2 there as I go through this. I like 2, and then, who do you probably get Oregon?
Odds are, but wide open.
Yeah, it's wide
You're playing the whole half the bracket.
So again, then you like your chances there. Mm-hmm. You're gonna like your chances in any of these games, and then who knows in March, in the tournament. It's just you just never know. But I like taking the over is ambitious. You're probably getting like plus 200, plus 250 on that. But I like it. Maybe even more because you're basically parlaying, March Madness games.
Yeah.
Real quick, this leads me to a separate question. And again, chime in with your answers in the chat because I'm curious. Who would you rather play, Stanford or Cal? Because the easy answer is Cal. They're not a good basketball team. But I think they match up well against Stanford. Ryan, what you talked about with the bigs, I mean, it's not just about Colorado's quality on the inside with Walton and Batty, but also with the depth of having Jabari. And now even guys like Tristan Silva who can come in. So it's a combination of your top-end talent can match up, but say they get into foul trouble, your depth can also show up. It's such a great matchup against Stanford.
By the way, Jabari Walker didn't play in that loss to Cal.
That's true.
That's a good point.
True.
And that is something that I think was forgotten often while he was out.
A lot of times because they played so well to start without him.
Yep.
And then everyone just said, okay, well, now this is the expectation for the way things should be when Jabari's out.
Comments are saying I would rather play Cal 100%. Luis said one reason I'm going over is Jabari Walker is back. He's rested, got some springs in his step.
Sure does. Here's an over-under. Let's say over-under 8.5 players in the regular rotation.
Under.
Over from Ben, though.
Oh, yeah.
The audio listeners were not thrilled with that.
Oh,
Ben.
not the point up. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. I just, so I'm going through the rotation right now. Okay, so you said 8.5. But what's the...
How many minutes do you have to get to be in the regular rotation?
I mean, so I would say, like, if it's a tight game, getting on the floor.
It's just interesting because, so you look at the distribution even from tonight, and you had... I'm not good at math. You had eight guys over 15 minutes. That would definitely be a regular rotation. And then you had Keyshawn Bartholomew with 9 minutes and Tristan Silva with 5. I'm still feeling 9. I think this is a 9-man rotation.
I don't think Ken's coming off the floor in these big games.
I know. That's kind of where I'm at. And I do think that is the question, though, is, I don't see De Silva getting in unless things aren't going well or something and they need a spark. I think they'll be quick to go to him if they need him, but I don't think he's part
Stanford,
of the...
They might play him a little more.
You think...
Just because.
Just cuz? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that might be a good point. But yeah, the question is, does Keyshawn Bartholomew get 4 or 5 minutes when Ken's on the bench? And if he's not going to the bench...
No more than 4.
But here's what we saw tonight.
They did play them together.
Yeah, and that was honestly the first time they've played them together consistently in a long time that I can remember. And I love that because it shows the other team something different. And no, that's not a look that I want them going to for probably more than 5 minutes a game. But if you get that 5 minutes from him and then 2 in the first, 2 in the second, when you're sitting Ken, you realistically could get up there into the 10-minute range, which I do think could warrant a regular rotation. But
by the way, Keyshawn bailed them out a little bit early with 2 threes. Those were huge.
He also had a hell of a volleyball serve pass thing.
It was nice.
That was the most street ball sequence that first 4 minutes before that under 16. I mean, it was like guys were. I think you said it, Ryan. You were like, everyone's just shooting it because they're like, well, no one else can get it done, so why not chuck it up?
It was just like, am I hot? Nope.
No, me neither.
Move on to the next guy.
Well, at least I didn't get called for an offensive foul.
Right. It eventually landed on Keyshawn. He's like, am I hot? He's like, oh.
Yeah.
Let me try again. Oh, let me try again.
He had 6 points and nobody had more than 2.
Yeah.
It's just, here's a question. Do you guys read anything into that? Because to me, I'm just moving along from the first 8 minutes of that game. And maybe that's irresponsible, but...
No, it's not.
No. I mean, because, again, both teams played horribly. The officiating was almost comical just from a sense of Arizona State had 4 straight trips of offensive fouls. And that is not going to happen.
There's no flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was so broken the entire time. It doesn't matter at all. And I buy more into the fact that they were able to take that horrific start, probably one of their worst of the season, and still end up putting up 75 points.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah, their over-under at DraftKings was 78.5. And they scored 2 points in the first 6 minutes and still almost came back to hit it. Or 2 points in the first 4 minutes. I don't know what happened right after that, but
Yeah.
they ended up putting together a decent offensive effort. Jariah Horn, another guy who he's so important to this team. He's the type of guy who can just get you one of those end a run buckets. Like you're the one who said it. You're like, you just don't see that often in college basketball. Like the step back, top of the key fadeaway. That's just cash from him. And like sometimes that's just the best shot you're going to get on that possession. And you need someone who can knock them down, especially in big games. Jariah is huge. He wasn't hot from 3 tonight, and he still found he had a double-double. He found a way to impact this game in many other ways. His hedge defense in the pick and roll is just so good. So, again, this team has all of the ingredients. It's like I don't want to overhype expectations, and because I just know what March is, and it's just expectations are like over now. You can't expect anything. And so, but this team has all the ingredients of a team that can and should win in March.
Here's a great stat from. Want to guess who it's from?
Brian Howell.
Yes, of course it's Brian Howell of the Daily Camera. He just tweeted, at 20-7, the worst Colorado can do this year is 20-9, which we were talking about, which is a .690 win percentage. Nice. So the Buffs have clinched their best winning percentage since the 1968-69 season.
Nice.
When they were 21-7, 750 average. Previous best was 1969. Oh, since 1969 was 96-97, 22-10.
Wow. So in 1969, they won 69% of their games?
No.
Legendary.
69, I thought he said was 75.
No.
750.
Yeah, you were wrong. That was the winning percentage. Wait. No,
Yes.
the winning percentage now. But the winning
Best
percentage this
since.
year, but
Okay.
only if they lose their last
so
two games here. So we're not
confused.
rooting for that.
No, we're definitely not. Really.
Okay, too many numbers near Ben.
But I have Ben Palm.
Let's do one more over-under. Let's just keep it on Ken. Over-under 19.5 games in the first game of the Pac-12 tournament for Colorado.
Wait.
What?
19. What? Oh, I meant 19.5 points. I probably said. Yeah.
19. I was like,
So many
19.5
different-
games?
I've been here since noon.
19.5 points. Over.
Over.
I'm
He's
over too.
rolling right now.
I feel like he has to just be going for the basket now, right? Like that's this team.
I mean, he has like an all-world float game. Like the way he's just throwing in shots with his right hand right now is insane.
Since the 2-game losing streak with Cal and Oregon, they're now obviously on a 4-game win streak. 21 points, 15 points, but in that game he had 14 assists, and then 26 points, 24 points. So my quick math says he's averaging over 20 in that stretch. This is the best Colorado has looked offensively, just because when it starts to break down, Ken says, screw it, I'll drive into the hoop, throw up a wonky shot, because you're absolutely right. Within 15 feet of the hoop, it doesn't matter what his body position is, where his feet are set, how his shoulders are squared. It doesn't matter. He is just able to get the ball in the hoop or draw a foul and get to the free throw line, hammer that over, because right now he feels like he's on a mission.
Got an under from Luis. See, that's not the energy I was hoping for, but he does make a good point.
You do have to win slop fest sometimes, but we've never seen what the Buffs are like in this. This isn't an early conference tourney game. It's a second-round conference tourney game.
That is true. Oh, that feels nice. Oh, we're going to take one more quick break.
I honestly,
we're
let me
gonna
just add one last thing about the conference tourney. I hope whatever team the Buffs play blows out whoever they play in the game before. I don't want them having this like, oh, we're a team of destiny feeling because they like hit a buzzer beater.
Okay, I think that I like that.
Maybe not a full-on blowout where they're like, oh my God, we're unstoppable, but just like a 10 to 12 point win.
You don't need like Matt Bradley putting up 40.
But I just really don't want Matt Bradley like hitting like a 35-foot fadeaway for the win where he's just like, nothing is stopping me. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't. It's a little bit uneasy having to sit and watch for a day, but it'll be cool for them. One last question: no fans in Vegas.
Only family.
Such a bummer.
I have one last question as well.
Okay.
We're all in agreement that USC is the best second game matchup, right?
Yes.
Not UCLA or Oregon.
I don't care. But USC, sure, that's fine.
I think I don't care, but USC sure is exactly what I was looking for.
Okay, cool.
Okay, again, we're getting all the questions. This is your last chance to send them all in, sort of. I mean, we're going to be here another half hour. But send a like or subscribe and all that stuff. And we'll get to those in a second. Oh, there we go. I was looking on the wrong page. I'm not on top of the ads today.
You're struggling with the ads, yep.
But you know how I'm not struggling?
How?
Oh, goodness. It's
In my
not a good one.
yeah, in my male grooming game. Allie was totally right. She knew where I was going.
Instantly.
Things are going well, which is actually a surprise because in other parts of my grooming game, on a bit of a cold streak. Haven't gotten a haircut in too long. Took a chunk out of the beard. Actually got toothpaste in my eye this morning, and that's why I'm wearing sweatpants.
How does that go? Two questions. How does toothpaste your eye relate to your grooming routine?
The free Sonicare toothbrush that you got at Green Mountain Dental, and it was like flicking
and
as it.
Why does that relate to you wearing sweatpants?
Yeah, what was the correlation?
See, and now I kind of want to keep it on the edge of your seat. What happened was I was running a little bit late for bets. I had to push everything together. I like to brush my teeth in the shower naturally because, I mean, if you...
That's so gross.
No, it's not, though,
it's not.
because
Yes,
think
it is.
about it. Would you rather spend 90 seconds being showered in hot water or just standing in a bathroom?
He's got a great point. I've
There you
never
go.
brushed my teeth in the shower, but I might now.
Try it.
I know
Actually,
a lot of
don't,
people. I know
because
a lot
it might
of people who
splash
brush
into your
their
eye.
teeth in
No,
the shower.
that's gross.
Yeah.
Why
Because
is it gross?
I don't know.
where's your toothbrush? When you're done brushing, do you set it in the bathtub, like in the shower?
Yeah, I throw it on the floor of the bathtub.
Okay.
I try to
After he
clean
uses
the
it to scrub his
drain a little
goose.
bit. Yeah,
Oh my God.
exactly.
Hey!
Exactly.
We're not that DNVR after dark. Calm down there, Ryan.
It collects germs in the shower.
He doesn't leave it in the
No,
shower.
I put it. Actually, I should put it in the cabinet. I usually just leave it on the sink. But
It's fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Here I
that's
am.
fine.
Alive.
Let's just all practice horrible hygiene. That's okay.
Manscaped though.
Where do you put your toothbrush?
I put it in a container and then put it away in the. I'm serious. Visit my bathroom. I'm very clean, okay? Because I watched a video one time where, like, if you flush the toilet, you get toilet particles all over, and so you're not supposed to leave stuff around that could collect those toilet particles. Anyway, Manscaped.
Do you ever wonder, like,
Wow.
how everyone else is alive despite doing that?
It seems to be
just-
working out.
Yeah.
I just assume everyone does it my way. Why?
Where did you buy your toothbrush case?
Came
Target.
with it.
Target. Target's
Okay.
where you find those. Okay, well, Manscaped, though, they don't make it so hard like Ben's stuff and my stuff or whatever. Very good products. The Lawnmower 3.0, it trims like nobody's business. As I mentioned with Ryan on a recent podcast, it's kind of like it's from space because of like technological stuff that happened up there. The waterproof, a whole bunch of cool stuff going
Space
on.
age technology.
It is. You just don't find stuff like that anywhere.
But honestly, it's the other products that really change the game.
The crop preserver.
Crop
in particular.
preserver, you'll never be the same once you've used it.
What it does is it goes into, I mean, you know where it goes, but what it does is
What
it
is
stops you from
happening?
sweating, which, again, I've been wearing these sweatpants at this bar for 12 hours. I didn't think this would be the case. I thought I'd be home. Should have thrown on some crop preserver, but I do think that going through an experience like this reminds you just how important those products are.
Never
Oh
leave the
my
house without
goodness.
preserving.
Also, there's wipes that I still haven't tried, but I am excited.
Crop mops.
Yes, the crop mops. There's so many awesome products. You should get the Perfect Package 3.0. It comes with a whole bunch of them, including the trimmer, including the crop preserver, a t-shirt, underwear, just like a whole bunch of good stuff. So check that out. And when you buy it, use the code DNVR to save 20% and get free shipping from manscaped.com.
Hell of a
It's an
deal.
awesome deal. Again, it's 20% off and free shipping with the code DNVR at manscaped.com.
Luis is a genius. Save you a lot of time and energy. Just shut the lid when you flush.
Okay, here's the problem
That's-
with no, I do, but the problem is you can't
You
put
do?
your hands on the toilet seat because then you touch the toilet germs. So you have to get a piece of toilet paper to close the lid.
This is
You can
explains
wash your
so much
hands
about you.
after.
I know.
Yes, but
You
guys just
feel
don't
like-
know my routine.
Okay.
You
I
know you're
know, and I
living
think
in
there's
fear.
going to be like
Let
three
him
more
have his
things in your
routine.
routine that are going to give us the complete picture.
Well,
and
the
we'll
one thing
finally
I do know
understand
about my
all of it.
routine is it didn't end up with toothpaste in my eye, which somehow led to me wearing sweatpants. So all in all, I
That
think I'm
is fair.
still
EJ
That
in
is
the
fair.
comments saying
rhyme thriving.
EJ
Think
in the
about how
comments saying
clean his
Allie
eyes
doing
are.
everything she can to get these boys back on the rails, and it's not working.
You'll never
Yeah.
stop us.
Never. Not with Manscaped.
It's not
on our
as
backs.
bad as football, at least.
Should we just start the questions from the top?
Yeah, we should.
Cool.
Several questions.
Several questions.
That's
from several people.
We have that.
I'm a producer, so I'm gonna do my graphics and everything that I have to do for the show. So go
They are good
away.
graphics.
Okay, first question we have. Let me find it. Where does Kin go on the all-time Buffs list? Is he on the Mount Rushmore of basketball?
God, I hate these.
I know. So I'm
Yeah.
obviously not qualified, but I would say absolutely. Like a 4-year player who's done everything that Kin has done.
Yeah, I would say
I mean,
yeah.
he's a
really-
program changer.
He needs one last thing for his legacy, and it's a tournament win.
Yeah,
I think that's
agree.
fair.
I agree with that. But I think he's up there for sure.
I mean, a lot of these guys, though, in the Tad Boyle era don't have that. So it's tough. It's the one kind of knock on this era, which has been basically a golden era of Colorado basketball. And it just unfortunately hasn't translated to the postseason as much as you would hope it would. But, Chauncey deserves to be on there. He's got a tournament win under his belt, even though he was only there 2 years.
It's a hard question.
Spencer Dinwiddie should probably be on there. I mean, I'm going to miss people that are in like this weird blind spot I have. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good a postseason pod.
It is a good postseason
That is.
pod. Like Jay Humphreys, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just not well versed enough in like the 80s.
Exactly.
But-
And I'm like half versed in all of it. And so I can't contribute anything other than Kin is really good. And when you say Jay Humphreys, I'm like, oh yeah, of course Jay Humphreys is up there. But I wouldn't have pulled that.
Yeah, McKinley Wright absolutely has a case. We'll just leave it at that.
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Next question is Tad for Coach of the Year.
I mean, what
Who
else
else are
do you
you
want
giving
from the
it to?
man? I mean, like we've talked about this a little bit. Stanford hasn't done enough to warrant
No,
it, even
God,
though
no.
they did have to like go and play half their season somewhere
in my
else.
opinion, that would
don't
only
care.
apply if they somehow got a bye. I mean, they have
kinda where I'm at.
They've gotten worse since they've gotten home. So Stanford's not in it. Mick Cronin still has a case, but again, I think this is the kind of thing that I don't.
Where
think
were
they're
they
gonna give it-
picked? Where were they picked?
I mean,
preseason?
I'm not
Second,
sure
I believe
first or
second.
second. They've got to be right up there.
Okay, where were the Buffs picked?
7th.
Yeah.
You knew that, didn't you? That was sneaky.
Interesting. From
Yeah.
7th to 3rd. I would be curious to know if anyone else outperformed their expectations by 4 and got themselves a first round bye. What did you just read?
What a question. You're not gonna.
Henry's eyes almost just popped out of his head.
God.
I actually misread something. It was a notification from the NHL that said Walter Gretzky died at age 82. Rest in peace. I read that as Wayne
Wayne,
Gretzky,
okay.
and so that's where my eyes.
Fair enough.
Luckily, I opened them wide enough to read that it was actually Walter.
I hope to God that basketball ends up like football, where you got Durrell getting Coach of the Year and Broussard getting
Player of the year.
was he Player of the Year? No, he was just offensive. He wasn't Player of the Year.
I don't
was he?
think did they do?
Yeah, it's
Player of
just
the Year?
offensive and defensive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but how great would it be if Tad and Kin both got that kind of recognition at the end of this run? That would be that is where you start to get Cinderella vibes.
I'm just saying, like
one last run.
The same people who vote on this are the same people who said Colorado is the 7th best team in the conference. So all of those people have to eat their crow. They were extremely wrong. They did. I mean, just the idea of that, it was idiotic in the first place.
Yep, we knew
But
at the
now, I don't know if anyone can pull this up. I don't know if there's anyone who outperformed their quote unquote expectations by 4 seeds.
There is not.
And yes.
And definitely didn't end up with
finished in
a
the
top
top
three.
three.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other 2 teams in the top 3, you have Oregon, who, whatever. I don't think you can give it to
I'm
Dana
not-
Altman
yeah, and I'm not giving him points for
playing.
getting COVID
Yeah.
twice. Then especially after we have the conversation we had about Tad, like avoiding COVID should
a skill.
definitely get you points.
Yeah.
That
I
was a
think-
good thing that he did. He achieved that.
I think Andy Enfield gets it if USC wins. If they win, if
You could see
the
it.
Trojans win, because I also
They win
think
what?
that win the regular season. So if they finish as the 1 seed, I think Andy Enfield gets it, because I think that plays well. I think it, getting an LA school in the limelight, also, having the Mobley brothers.
Like one of the best players in the country. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also, you brought up that point about Pac-12 media. Do you think the fact that they already had them so underrated, do you think that plays into it? As like, well, we're not going to give Tad Coach of the Year because
it shows that we're idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they're thinking like, wow, Tad did a great job. He took this crappy team and made them good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question.
Also, one more thought. Tab for Coach of the Year, Kin for Player of the Year. Don't forget about Jiraiya for Sixth Man of the Year.
Yes.
Oh, that should be a lock, right?
You would think. I mean, without knowing a whole bunch about the benches, I mean, the man shot almost 50% from 3.
Yeah. He's
Put up
awesome.
big numbers.
All right, next question is best from Dan, best bench player this year.
Jiraiya.
Kin.
Jiraiya.
I mean, oh, sorry, Jiraiya.
Ben.
I was thinking Kin was the other player I was just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Luis says, what is a good NBA comp for Kinley?
I've been saying Monte Morris. The thing about Monte is like, first, he was so good in his assist to turnover ratio, like historically good, multiple times. I think he set the record his junior year and then broke his own record his senior year.
I think he might have said it the first time his sophomore year.
So he might have broke his own record 3 different times.
I think he did.
And that was a big reason why he was always going to get a chance. But when you look at like the ability to finish at the rim despite being undersized, Monte did not come into the NBA as good of a three-point shooter as he is now. So that's something that McKinley Wright could add to his game. And Ken is a great defender. You know, he does what you need to do on that end. But again, against 6'6" NBA guards, he's going to have his troubles. So you're going to have to play matchups with him. But that's the one that's close to home for me. So that's what I'm saying.
TJ McConnell is doing his thing in the league, and I know Kinley is better than him.
You got it. He needs to knock down some threes.
I mean, I'm probably one of the biggest damn homers, but TJ McConnell is doing really good in the NBA. McKinley Wright is doing very well in I love the I like the comp, I guess. But I just mean like TJ McConnell is. The problem that I have with doing these comps is it's just tough because, you know, you point to Monte Morris, and that's tough because Monte's had time to, develop and whatnot. McKinley Wright, his assist-to-turnover ratio is still not where it needs to be. And that was the two things that NBA scouts told him he needed to work on was three-point percentage and assist-to-turnover ratio. His assist-to-turnover ratio, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. It feels like it's gotten better, but I know for a fact his three-point percentage has still dipped, even though he is shooting at a very efficient
better
clip.
in these last couple games, though.
So I think, you know, it just take it all with a grain of salt. Ultimately, it's just going to kind of depend on how those workouts go in the pre-draft process because
TJ McConnell's a really good basketball player
And a really good three-point shooter in particular.
And I mean, it's tough. It's easy to say that, but he's really good. Like he's really come into his own in the NBA.
One thing real quick, just to tie a bow on this too, is McKinley Wright going through that process. That was last year. That was virtual. So these scouts actually haven't seen him, you know, necessarily in person. That's going to be huge for him too because you look on paper, you say, oh, he's a 6-foot guard. Like that's going to suck. See him in person. He's built. You know, he actually does have some meat on his bones. If you can get some runs with McKinley Wright in with some of your guys, you know, in a gym and see how he defends, that's going to be a big deal.
That's a good point. That they definitely did not ever get to meet him in person.
And again, it's not like the work ends. Like you can get better at three-point shooting once you get to the NBA.
Absolutely.
It's not like, you know, quarterbacks entering the NFL where it's like, well, they just don't usually get more accurate when they get to the NFL. Although there are players who have been doing that in the last few years. Like you just keep working on it. Some guys actually, once they step back a little, it helps. Like there's certain things that can come into it. The good news for Ken is, regardless of what happens in the NBA, he will make a lot of money playing basketball for as long as he wants.
Okay, next question. Flyby Cygnus. That's why I always just say Michael because I always struggle with that. They should have the seniors out at Folsom during the first game against UNC.
I'm sure they will.
Yep. There's going to be some big stuff, I'm sure.
Luis says, side note, RK's fade is on point tonight.
Thank you.
It is.
Shout out James, Hollywood Barbershop.
Dean Chisholm
Dean the Dream.
Where are we going here?
says, what would Tad tell the team in pregame to avoid frantic starts?
Stop with the frantic starts. That'd be my first guess. I don't know. I mean,
I just think those happen. There's like there's just a feeling out period that happens for both sides where you're just like, okay, how are you playing us? Oh, how are we going to attack that? And that's one of those things that really good veteran guards or just good veteran players can figure out over the course of a game. Like, I don't want to make a Peyton Manning, McKinley Wright comp, but
We've been doing a lot of Peyton Manning today.
yeah, I already comped him to Nikola Jokic. I'll comp Nikola Jokic, which again, not fair. But those guys go out there and they just want to see how the defense is approaching things, and it just takes them a sec to be like, okay, if they're gonna do that, we're gonna do this. So I don't know if there's anything you can necessarily tell the team or do to avoid those things, other than just maybe harp on it in that last pregame huddle of, hey, keep your composure early, take your time, don't force anything, don't rush anything.
And the big thing is, for the most part, they really haven't struggled defensively when they've had like these scrambly starts. And today being another example of that. And that's the most important thing, is if you're not going to get your offense under control, your defense better be there. Basically, they just delayed the game from starting for 6 minutes today. That's what it wound up being the result. And that's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. And you'd love to see them come out and start
There's also this
better offensively, but
there's also this looseness that everyone plays with at the start of the game because there's no consequences.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can just huck up a terrible shot in the first possession and
And if it goes in, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, is this a Keyshawn game?
Right.
Is this a Jiraiya game? Oh boy, he might be hot. He better go take another.
I
Like,
how
that's what you
mentioned
want.
two guys who are never on the floor at the start of the game. But I understand what you're
Oh
saying.
yeah, wow, I did, didn't I?
Or you could be Remy Martin and just huck up bad shots for your entire career.
Right, but there's just
Well, mostly he just runs guys
everyone
over.
plays really loose in the first few minutes because it's just like I was saying earlier. Oh, do I have it tonight? Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Can you take it?
Okay, Selly says, did CU become the all-time free throw percentage team in D1
So
history?
I was told, unfortunately, that the postseason counts in this record. So I got to keep it rolling, but I have all the confidence in the world that they will.
I mean, and I'm gonna all right. I'm gonna
Good
knock
call,
on
Ben.
wood.
Great call,
Knock
Ben.
on wood.
But think about this:
Should I?
for them to
Yeah.
not hold the record. Right now, the record is Harvard at 70. What is it? No, 81,
82?
82.
Low
Is it
82s
Harvard
and
or
they're high
Yale?
82s? I think it's Harvard.
Colorado, because of how consistently good they've been all season, you would have to have not probably just one bad game, but multiple bad games from the free throw line.
Jesus.
And quite frankly, if you're having a bad night from the free throw line, if you're this team, how many chances are you going to get? So I feel confident that they should be able to hold on to that. But that is why I knocked on wood, because if they don't,
Thank you.
Ryan will kill me. So
There was almost an incident.
That almost lost me for the rest of his life today.
Literally.
yeah.
And I just stared at I'm like, I'm not kidding. He will not like you for the
But it
rest
didn't
of the
matter.
time.
Didn't matter.
So
You got away with
Colorado
a jinx attempt.
didn't blow a 10-point lead with
Ken
a
is
minute 30
Peter Martin
left.
coming in. Ken is a lock for first team all pack, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Luis said, can either UCLA or USC leapfrog Oregon in the standings?
Yes. So the winner would take first if Oregon loses to Oregon State.
Probably won't happen.
Probably not. And if that happens, so Oregon State can only go as low as 2. So there'll be 1 if they win, 2 if they lose. UCLA, USC, winner would be number 1 if Oregon loses.
Who do you think
And
is the
then-
best team in the Pac-12?
Honestly, Colorado. Like, I mean, Oregon is good, and USC could make a claim.
There's claim.
but I would say Colorado head-to-head matches up against USC, and I know that's not the question, but
Here's what I'll say, and this is obviously matchup dependent, so you could never actually do this. But I'm just saying, you have to put your life on one of these teams to win a game. I'm picking Colorado.
oh, see, that's a different question. There've been a couple of those games.
Well, I'm
that-
not saying it's against like I'm not saying it's like against some crap. You get to
Okay.
choose the team. I'm saying like it's all against the same team, which just happens to be an equal matchup for all sides.
Yep.
And you got to pick one to win.
I would take Colorado.
I'm only saying Colorado because I have said multiple times that my ideal death is to be trampled by Ralphie during a football game. So also dying because the basketball team lost seems like it would fit into that portfolio.
So, but what if we were saying you don't die, but you crack the screen on your iPad? does that change things if we're not talking death here?
Just put it on Daddy's credit card.
Oh my god.
All right.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
Luis also asked, what would you have given to be able to be in CU Event Center for one of the last few games? Oh,
Well, I don't want to just be there. But if I could be there with everyone,
Yeah.
I would give a lot.
I would take both. I would take being there with everyone
we
or
could
just
have been there
being
tonight if we wanted to be.
That is true.
But
as media, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
but
saying.
Like
It's not-
screaming as
just sitting there and
fans.
watching quietly isn't fun.
Yeah.
To be in that atmosphere, there would have been no emotion to comprehend Tad pulling McKinley Wright and them sharing that hug at the end of the game.
I would have
How long
cried.
would you have
I
cried,
would have
Ben
fully
Plum?
cried.
For Christ's sake, I was close to crying sitting at the bar.
I was teary-eyed
So-
watching the video. I would have cried. Like the goosebumps, like I tweeted, the standing ovation that these guys are
And
going
it would
to
have been a
get.
court rush night too. Like everybody would have. Yeah, it would have. McKinley Wright's last game.
No.
Yeah, it would have.
No.
Yes, it would have.
ASU.
No.
Yeah,
Dude,
no.
Okay, no.
Ben would have been on the court.
By himself.
I'm never gonna be like the court rushing police because I always think it's dumb. Like just let college kids have fun. But I just don't think. I think
Yeah.
you're wrong thinking that we would have charged.
Get
the
out there,
course in it.
Ben.
You know what? You know
your
what? You're
thing.
absolutely right. I would have been wrong to assume everybody would have. Henry is also right. I would have been out there. So
I can just imagine the way that Coors Event Center is going to sound. Like last year, before they ended up leaving for the tournament, there was a game where it was the most packed I had seen it in a very long time, and like that energy, and when we're able to fill that arena back up again, like it's going to be goosebump worthy.
They'll probably
cheering
have
for
like
them.
Ken come sit courtside for a game.
Yeah.
And he'll get honored, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
random
gonna be
aside,
incredible.
but isn't it weird to think that 2 weeks after their final home game, the world shut down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is weird to think like
it's crazy that it's been a year.
it's probably one of the last events I went to.
Okay,
I mean, my
Peter-
last was the tournament game. That was
Yeah.
such
you
a
were
wild
there.
game.
Henry
Oh,
was
yeah, you were in Vegas.
when all that broke down.
I was going through. It was a wild day. There were like people who were talking to me who. Like my first elbow bump, remember elbow bumps became a thing, was Bill Walton. That was just like, that was a wild day for me in a whole bunch of different ways.
Love Bill. All right, next
Yeah.
one.
All right. Peter says, which player do you think has to step up the most to help Ken for the Buffs to make a March run?
Does
Deshaun Schwartz.
That's
He's
a good
always
one.
going to be my X Factor pick.
Yeah. And every time I'm going to say that's a good one.
Evan Batty could be a huge catalyst as well. But it's like Deshaun is so capable. There's very few bad matchups for him out there on the floor offensively just based on his size and his strength and the position that he plays. And any game that he goes off, the Buffs will win.
Yeah. Because there's going to be enough other pieces.
Yeah.
Ben, you can go, actually.
I was just gonna say, like, my caveat for this is, has to step up. Does that mean exceed what they've been already doing? Because what I want to say is Jariah Horn,
Yep.
but I don't know that he can step up any further.
Keep
1 of 4 tonight from 3.
Yeah, he
I
can
mean,
beat
We
yeah.
that.
know he can go 4 of 4.
But the other name I'll then throw out there is Jabari, just because if tonight 17 minutes, 9 points, 5 boards, fantastic night. If he is scoring double digits, if he is scoring, let's say 12, 15 points in 17 to 20 minutes, you're winning that game.
Yep.
I'd throw Eli Parquet into the conversation just because, the reason I wouldn't choose him is because I don't think there's a world where he's scoring more than 12, 13 points.
I really hope the Buffs go up against a team in the tournament who relies on one of their guards to bring their offense. Like, that's how much I trust Eli and also Ken when he's
Exactly.
on. Like, if you are a team that, it doesn't matter who you are, because if you're a team that's dominated by your bigs as well, you're going to get clamped.
And that's
Unless
kind of the
you
thing.
have one of those unreal guys. But what's Evan Mobley done?
Nothing at all. Exactly. And that's the thing is, we were just saying.
I think it's a muscle thing.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Tennessee had. They had these big, just ripped bigs
long,
that just kind of
muscular, could
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah, it was okay, that kind of takes away our advantage.
And they
Yeah.
had that one dude with like the bleached hair that just couldn't miss.
He was just stroking.
And that raises an interesting question. You look at a team like Michigan, who is the second-ranked team in the country. They rely a lot on Hunter Dickinson, which is their freshman center. a lot like Evan Mobley in the fact that he's lean, he doesn't have the same kind of muscle, but he's still highly talented.
Buffs second best team in the country.
Well,
Let's go.
but the point is it's very interesting to see like how the bracket falls really could anticipate because if Colorado gets paired against Baylor or Gonzaga, they're not going to go anywhere because they have size and muscle and experience. But a team like, again,
They have NBA players.
but also teams like Michigan, teams like Ohio State. Ohio State right now is flirting with the one line. Their biggest player that gets significant minutes is 6'8", but not an Evan Batty 6'8", like a me 6'8".
Well, you're not 6'8".
Right,
But
so stretch
imagine if
me
he
out.
was.
So,
Yeah.
so
I
the
mean-
point is like teams like Ohio State, they could be a 1 seed, and you could actually feel great about Colorado going up into against them.
There's very few teams in this 68 team bracket that are going to scare me. It's like the list is
Well, that
probably you could make on one.
that
Ben
leads to
just
our
made
next
it. Yeah.
question. Michael says, if the big dance started tomorrow, what would Colorado's seed be?
Flirting with a 4. If it started tomorrow, flirting with a 4 because they're the best team in the conference.
Yep. I would say probably 5. I think
So
ESPN
what's the-
currently has him as a 5.
What's the line that you want to avoid?
You know, everybody's going to talk about the 5-12 thing, and, you know,
But I
I'm
mean,
not too worried
You do
about it.
not want to be an 8 or a 9.
Okay, yeah,
That's pretty much it.
Right, you play one and then you go up against the 1 seed, right?
Yep.
To me,
So that's what you have to avoid, and I just don't think the Buffs are going to run into that, and that's a really safe feeling.
Yep. Because the other thing, too, is this year, the talent gap between Gonzaga, Baylor, and then you even talk maybe Michigan, Illinois. I mean, the talent gap between the top 4 and the rest of the field is so high that if you are a 7-10 and have to play a 2 seed in the second round, you actually don't feel terrible about it. Teams that are projected as a 2 seed right now, you might be in the Villanova conversation. They just lost their starting point guard, but teams like Villanova, Alabama, even in Ohio State, those are very good teams. But again, Villanova, you'd love that matchup. Ohio State,
Yeah, Villanova just lost their point guard.
yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
would love some of these matchups for a 2 seed, and that actually is a path for you to get into the Sweet 16.
now, the tough part is, if we're saying they're a 5 seed, maybe flirting with a 4 seed, well, the 4 and 5 play each other in the, round of 32, and then they would play the 1 seed in the Sweet 16. If you're a 6-7 seed, you don't hit the 1 seed until the Elite 8, whereas you get the 2 seed in the Sweet 16. And so there is something to getting one of those spots and accepting that you're playing a 10 instead of a 13 or 14 in the first round.
Should they reseed?
No.
Should they reseed? No,
Takes
they
away the
shouldn't.
fun.
I mean,
Right, because then Cinderella's just getting the 1 seed every time
Exactly.
in the second round.
and
Yeah.
you can't fill out brackets, which is why so many casual people want to watch.
Very good point.
And you
Well,
know,
I mean, you could. You just have to revisit it after every round.
yeah, it would just change a tradition, and people don't like that.
They shouldn't. I
And-
just
and that
I just
is-
thought of it for a second, but
Yeah.
they shouldn't. I mean,
No.
it is kind of lame that like you get like you'd rather be a 13 seed than an 8 or 9 seed. Like it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, in terms of winning the tournament, that is true. In terms of going as far as you can,
Yeah.
then if you're the 13 seed, then you're having a tough first round. You're having a tough second round.
Right.
You know, and so
There's pros and cons, but it's
there's
just
pros and cons.
It's just weird. It's just weird.
It
that,
is
like,
weird.
The 8, like, congratulations, you got an 8 seed. You're better than half the teams in your bracket, but unfortunately, you get one, and then you get to play the 1 seed.
And exactly. But that is why you get the Cinderella teams, is because if a 15 beats a 2, well, then they get the matchups the 2 seed was supposed to get.
Yeah.
Real quick, just to touch on Henry, you're talking about the 4 and the 5 matchups. That is what terrifies me. I mean, I think a 6 seed is the sweet spot that you kind of want to be in because, even just going through like some of these rankings, teams that really could be a 4 or 5. Iowa is not really that far away. They're 1 or 2 more losses away from being on that 4 or 5 seed line. And that would be, I mean, you can't stop a team like Iowa's offense. You've also got Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Texas, Creighton, Kansas, all these teams
But
that are
that's, like,
kind of in that
in-
4 or 5 range.
But they're in the Buffs range.
Yes, they are, but I think they sneakily scare me more than playing a team like Ohio State from a matchup standpoint. And also, you
have nothing
cannot
to lose against the
fathom
2 seed.
how much happiness I would feel if Colorado beat Ohio
that's why
State
you
to go to
keep
the Sweet
saying it.
16. Yeah, oh my God, I would be so happy.
Next question.
That is it.
Wow. That's it. Well,
Peter just said at least we'll have a chance to give Evan Batty a good goodbye, which that'll be great too. But
Technically,
let's knock on wood and cross our fingers.
Oh, yes.
Because again,
who knows?
one pandemic doesn't mean there's not a second.
Wow.
But I mean, I'm not taking anything
Get
for
the
granted.
negative energy
At least we're
outta
getting this
here.
moment with Evan.
Technically, could
I sure
Evan
hope
play
so.
3 more seasons?
2 more.
I know it's my job to do season math, but this year really makes me not want to have to think that anymore.
Okay, but didn't he have 2 more coming into this year?
Yes, and so he should. Yes,
Isn't he?
he was a junior this year. He's a junior this year. He has
he's
next
got
year.
2 potential because
Yeah.
of the COVID
Okay,
waiver.
okay,
Yeah.
so you can play 2 more seasons. I mean, that's crazy. Like, can you imagine all these players that are going to do that and the jokes of, like, he's been there since this, that, the other thing? Like,
Dude, I know.
remember Perry Ellis at Kansas? Like, everyone was like, that guy's been there for 20 years.
Because he
Like-
looked like he was 50.
Like, Evan could be at CU for 6 years. Like,
Could you imagine 2 more years of Evan Batty bulking up?
I was just
too?
going to say, like,
posting up like a freshman. Like,
2 more years of Evan Batty in the weight room.
I want some gray hair on that man.
I feel like Jiraiya is, like, dangerously close to having some gray.
Because of the way he plays. Like you watch him out there and you're just like, yeah, that's a bet.
Old man game.
That guy's 38, not a day younger. That is Paul Millsap right
he
there.
does kind of give that vibe of like you walk up to the rec center and he's this like old man who like takes off his sweats and stretches beforehand, you know, and then all of a sudden goes and dumps 20 on you and you're super confused how it happened.
Maybe I've been missing something, but can Jiraiya jump? Like what is the most we've seen him jump?
I think he threw down a dunk or 2.
Yeah,
He's got hops. You can't get 12 boards in this game and not have
That is
hops.
true. That is true.
He's got sneaky old man hops, you know?
he has sneaky all sorts of stuff.
It's like your grandpa that you don't think can get up out of the recliner and then he does and it's like a miracle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jiraiya.
Was that my analogy of the day?
Yeah,
I was
your
gonna ask for one to
terrible
end the show,
analogy.
but I'm glad we got that out of the way. Yeah, but seriously, like Jiraiya is going to play basketball a long time because he's really good, and luckily Colorado has a bunch of those guys, and that's why they are where they are. Number 3 in the Pac-12, getting ready for the Pac-12 tournament, and then back in the NCAA tournament. It's been an awesome season. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome postseason, and we will see you guys.
Come down to the bar for the games in the Pac-12
Oh,
tournament.
yes, come down to the bar for the games. We will be here. Oh, just wanted to sneak in that Kin's assist to turnover ratio went from 1.7 last year, 2.8 this year.
That's good.
Improvement.
Yep.
It's a full point there. So
A big step forward.
Thanks for doing the research, EJ.
yeah, come hang out with us on for these games for the Pac-12 tournament. They're going to be late, which means they're even more fun.
Yes.
What day is that going to be? I think
Thursday.
It's the 13th.
Thursday,
Nope,
9
the 11th. The 11th next week. March
Thursday
11th.
still.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Thursday, 9:30 p.m. on ESPN.
Perfect.
And
There you
also, you know, stay tuned. We got some other March Madness stuff cooking up right now. So,
Oh, yeah.
so DNVR, we're going to be your one-stop shop for all things, not just Buffs coverage, but all things Selection Sunday and March Madness. So stay tuned on that front.
Love it.
Do it. Yeah, that's it. Bye.